You want to be able to fight your enemies and be able to pull off full-blown fatalities. Well, you can do that with today's build because today we're diving into and building Scorpion, because this is D&D builds where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous Dungeons & Dragons characters and stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. Scorpion is one of the most iconic members of the lineup of Mortal Kombat since the very original game. And first things first, we gotta pick a race, and considering he tears off that face to reveal a skull, comes up from hell, and all of that stuff, we're gonna go with a Reborn. This will allow us to add 1 point to 3 different ability scores. We have an Ancestral Legacy, allowing us to have some additional bonuses from our previous race before we kind of died, and you have Deathless Nature. You have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned, which is really going to help if you go up against Reptile, because it also gives you resistance to poison damage. You have advantage on death saving throws, you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe, and you don't need sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. Then when it comes to a background, you're fighting in the Mortal Kombat tournament, and that feels like a Gladiator. The Gladiator is a variant on the Entertainer background, and it gives you skill proficiencies in Acrobatics and Performance, while also giving you tool proficiencies with a Disguise kit. And we're going to touch on the stats after we choose our starting class, because Mortal Kombat is a martial arts tournament. And there's one class that's very focused on martial arts, and that's a monk. A monk's main important stats are going to be Dexterity and Wisdom. So, if we're jumping into the stats, we're going to dump everything and then just put all of our points into Dexterity, Wisdom, and Constitution, bringing those important stats to 15, and then we'll use our Reborn race to get 1 point into each of them, bringing them all up to 16. While dumping the rest. When you choose a monk at first level, you get proficiency in simple weapons and short swords, which helps because we do see him use a short sword pretty regularly. You also have saving throws in strength and dexterity, and you get to choose 2 skills. So we're going to grab stealth because you're in a ninja costume and might as well try and use it a little bit, even if it is bright yellow. And then we'll also grab history because the Mortal Kombat tournament has been going on for an insanely long time, and there's a lot of history that goes with it. Then at first level of monk, you get access to Unarmored Defense. So your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier, as long as you're not wearing any other form of armor. You also get the most important part of why we started with this class, and that's martial arts. You can use your dexterity modifier instead of your strength for any attack and damage rolls for your unarmed strikes and monk weapons. You can roll a d4 in place of normal damage whenever you do make that unarmed strike, and that damage upgrades as you level up in monk. And then finally, when you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or monk weapon, you can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action, making you one of the only classes in D&D to be able to pull off 2 attacks without any sort of feats or anything like that at first level. Then at second level of monk, you get access to ki, and this is what's going to fuel any special attacks or special abilities, and you have an amount of ki points to be able to use equal to your monk level. And right off the bat, you can use it for flurry of blows, so instead of making 1 attack as your bonus action, you can spend 1 ki point to make 2 unarmed strikes as your bonus action. You can also spend 1 ki point for patient defense, allowing you to take the dodge action as your bonus action, or finally using Step of the Wind, spending 1 ki point to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. Additionally, at second level, you get Unarmored Movement, so your movement speed is increased by 10 feet when you're not wearing any armor or wielding a shield. This speed bonus does increase also as you level up in monk. There's also an optional feature at second level called Dedicated Weapon, so you can choose a special weapon that you are proficient in that doesn't already come with being a monk. So if you wanted to pull off that kunai that's attached to the chain and you wanted it to be some sort of whip, you could do that, but I'm going to cover that on its own, so we don't have to use this optional feature. Then at third level of monk, you get Deflect Missiles, allowing you to block projectiles and possibly throw them back at your enemies, and you get Monastic Tradition, basically giving you a subclass. A lot of Scorpion's abilities revolve around fire, and there's 2 monk subclasses that do give you some ability to use fire. That's the Way of the 4 Elements, which will actually give you access to pretty much all 4 main elements, which kind of feels like a waste, so we're going to go with the other option, which is the Way of the Ascendant Dragon. When you choose this subclass at third level, this gives you a Draconic Discipline, allowing you to channel the power of a dragon within you, I know Scorpion isn't quite as dragon-like as some of the other members of the Mortal Kombat universe, but it does give you some cool benefits that we can make work, like Draconic Presence. So if you fail at an Intimidation check or a Persuasion check, you can use your reaction to re-roll that check. Or you can use Draconic Strike, so when you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage type to Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Poison. But we're going to go with Fire. And additionally, you get Tongue of Dragons, so you learn to speak, read, and write Draconic, or one other language of your choice. Then the other very important feature you get at 3rd level with this subclass is Breath of the Dragon. So you can channel destructive waves of energy and breathe out a 20-foot cone or 30-foot line of destructive elemental power. And if we're focusing on fire here, it's just going to be essentially Fire Breath, which works very well for any time you want to pull off one of Scorpion's Fatality. The damage is only equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die, which your enemy's going to have to make a dexterity save against, and if they pass, they take half damage, but if they fail, they take the full brunt of it. And the amount of dice that you actually roll with this does level up as you level up with this subclass. So at 11th level, this upgrades to 3 rolls of your martial arts die instead. Then at 4th level of Monk, you get an ability score improvement. And we could focus very heavily on the combat, but there's obviously a very important move that we're missing from Scorpion, because you can't tell an enemy to get over here without being able to pull off that kunai chain thing. And I think one of the best ways to do it while utilizing the wisdom that we have is by picking up a feat. So we're going to grab Magic Initiate. We'll dive into the Druid spell list, which allows us to utilize our wisdom, and you get to choose one 1st level spell. So we'll just grab Absorb Elements, which you can use as a reaction, so it's a very defensive spell, which will be helpful for going up against any other elemental ninjas you have to go up against, like Sub-Zero. And then you get to choose 2 cantrips. We'll grab Produce Flame, because that just seems to fit with all of the flame stuff. And then, to make sure we have some ability to reach out, grab somebody, hurt them, and pull them in, we're going to grab the cantrip Thorn Whip. This even requires a vocal component, so if you want to pull this off, you could just as easily say, "Get over here," every single time you want to cast it. It has a 30-foot range, it pulls a creature 10 feet closer to you, and you have to make a melee spell attack against that creature, and when you pull them in, you deal 1d6 piercing damage at this level, but it levels up along with your character, going all the way up to 4d6. Additionally, at 4th level, you do get the feature Slow Fall, making it so you can reduce plenty of the fall damage in case you're falling deep into a pit. Then at 5th level of Monk, your martial arts die gets upgraded from a 1d4 to a 1d6, and you get access to the very important extra attack. So now you can attack twice as your action, once as your bonus action, or twice as your bonus action with Flurry of Blows, making it so you can attack a total of 4 times. Additionally, at this level, you get the very important Stunning Strike. So when you want to leave your enemies dazed and kind of woozy, stumbling there, you can spend a key point to pull this off and stun an enemy, which is super helpful. Then at 6th level of Monk, you get access to Key Empowered Strikes, so all of your unarmed strikes are considered magical. And your Unarmored Movement gets boosted to 15 feet instead of 10 feet. Then finally from this level, you get another feature from the Way of the Ascendant Dragon, Wings Unfurled. So when you use key points for Step of the Wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back and give you a flying speed equal to your walking speed. It only lasts until the end of your turn, which frankly doesn't help that much, but it's fun to play around with even if it doesn't quite fit with the build overall. Then at 7th level of Monk, you get access to Evasion, so now whenever you have to make a dexterity saving throw to avoid taking damage, you automatically take half damage, and if you succeed on the roll, you take 0 damage. Additionally, at 7th level, you get Stillness of Mind, allowing you to use your action to end any effect that would be charming or frightening you. Then at 8th level of Monk, you get another ability score improvement, so we're just going to boost up our dexterity by 2 points because that's probably what you're going to use most of the time unless you're really popping in those combos to pull off tons of special moves. And then at 9th level of Monk, you get a boost to your Unarmored Movement. So now you can run along vertical surfaces and across liquids without falling during your movement. Then at 10th level of Monk, your Unarmored Movement gets boosted from a bonus 15 feet to a bonus 20 feet, and you get Purity of Body, making you immune to disease and poison. Then at 11th level of Monk, your unarmed strikes get upgraded to a D8 instead of a D6, and you get another feature from being a Way of the Ascendant Dragon, Aspect of the Wyrm. So now you can have a draconic power that radiates 10 feet from you for 1 minute. For the duration, you can gain one of 2 effects. either Frightful Presence, making it so you have an aura around you, and as a bonus action on any subsequent turns once you activate this, you can choose a creature within the aura, and the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened of you for 1 minute. But that target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Or you can use this feature for resistance, so you can choose a type of damage when you activate this aura, either acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison, and you and your allies within the aura have resistance to that damage, which again is going to be super useful, especially if you go up against somebody like Sub-Zero. Then at 12th level of Monk, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and max out our Dexterity finally, so you can use that martial arts to the full extent of your ability. And then at 13th level of Monk, you get Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Even though Scorpion isn't very chatty, now this feature allows you to speak and understand any language. Then at 14th level of Monk, your Unarmored Movement gets boosted from 20 feet to 25 feet, and you get Diamond Soul, giving you proficiency in absolutely all saving throws, which is pretty damn powerful. Then at 15th level of Monk, you get Timeless Bodies, so you no longer suffer any frailty in old age, and you can't be aged magically. Then at 16th level of Monk, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up your Wisdom, which helps your armor class, and it helps improve the chances that you're going to succeed against any enemy that has to make any sort of DC save against something you do. Then at 17th level of Monk, your unarmed strikes get boosted from a D8 to a D10, and you get another feature from your Way of the Ascendant Dragon, Ascendant Aspect. So now you can augment breath, so when you use your Breath of the Dragon, you can spend 1 key point to augment the shape and power. So instead of breathing out a 20-foot cone, it's now a 60-foot cone, or a 90-foot line. And each creature in that target area now can take damage up to 4 rolls of your martial arts die. Additionally, Ascendant Aspect gets you blind sight, so now anything within 10 feet of range you can effectively see as long as it's not behind total cover. Doesn't matter if they're invisible or in darkness or anything, they are still essentially bright as day. And then finally, the last feature from Ascendant Aspect is Explosive Fury. So when you activate Aspect of the Wyrm, Draconic Fury explodes from you. Choose any number of creatures you can see in the aura, and each of those creatures must succeed on a dex save or take 3d10 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, which we're going to stick to fire. Now we could keep going with Monk, which would give us the feature Empty Body, allowing us to turn invisible, but that doesn't really feel as Scorpion-like, so I think we're going to do a multi-class. And I was tempted to go with Druid so you can pull off some sort of animality, but it would take way too many levels to turn into a giant scorpion, and a normal sized scorpion is just kind of lame. So we're going to jump over to Fighter. At first level of Fighter, you get access to a fighting style. And while I was tempted to grab thrown weapon fighting for when you throw out the kunai thing, or maybe unarmed fighting, but you already have a martial arts die and grappling isn't really Scorpion's thing, so I would go with Dueling. So now when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you can deal +2 bonus damage to the rolls with that weapon. Additionally, at first level you get Second Wind, so on your turn you can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level. Then at second level of Fighter you get Action Surge, so you can use this feature to take 2 actions in a single turn instead of just 1. So you can use an action to cast Thorn Whip, pulling somebody in and saying, "Get over here!" and then follow that up with another action doing a full round of attacks with 2 attacks as your action and 2 attacks as your bonus action with Flurry of Blows. Then at third level of Fighter and last level of this build, you get access to a martial archetype, also known as a subclass. And I'm gonna go with Echo Knight, because when you choose this subclass at third level, you get Manifest Echo. So you can essentially bring up a shadow of yourself, which we don't care too much about that, but I always know that whenever I was facing off against one of my cousins or something in Mortal Kombat, they'd always use that move where they could teleport to the other side of the screen and punch me in the face. And Manifest Echo allows you to magically swap places with an echo, and it only costs you 15 feet of movement and a bonus action. So now you're just teleporting all around and punching people in the face, just like my cousin did all the time, which I totally don't have any hard feelings about at all, I swear. Additionally, when you use this feature, when you make an attack action on your turn, you can make the attack from your location or from your echo's location, and you can make opportunity attacks from your location or your echo's location. Additionally, you get the feature Unleash Incarnation, so whenever you take the attack action, you can make one additional melee attack from your Echo's position, and you can use this a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier. So now you can make 2 attacks as your action, 2 more attacks with your bonus action if you want to use Flurry of Blows, 2 attacks on top of that if you want to use your Action Surge, and then finally you can add 1 more attack to each one of those actions, boosting your total attacks by 2 more with your Unleash Incarnation, bringing you to a massive total of 8 attacks. And remember, you can use things like Stunning Strike on any one of those, just completely stunning your enemies, giving you advantage on absolutely all attacks after they're stunned. Or you could just rip off your face and just breathe fire all over them. Whatever you want to do. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments down below. This was the 3rd place vote for a poll that I put up over on my Patreon. And while I take plenty of suggestions in my comments, if you want the ability to vote on my future builds and hopefully get them a little bit sooner, or if you want access to the character sheets for this build or any of my other builds, feel free to check out my Patreon, linked in the description down below. Like the super awesome bad in person Caleb Roan, Keelon, Lumiere97, Mikey Zapita, the Dino21, Viral Naravar, Zed13, Yaksha Senpai, and Zalvador. Then going above and beyond that is my Dungeon Master level patrons that I actually play D&D with. Benjamin, Braden Aldridge, Connor Kitchen, Daniel Galvin, Demi Urge, Devin Happy, Eric Wade, GameSteak, Heyo, Michael, Tristan Bennett, and of course Kilo. And finally, if you made it to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session and fight as Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, and maybe even pull off a fatality.